Around the Ötztal Valley, you can find a lot of legends that are related to the places, to the mountains, to forests, and overall to the mythical atmosphere that comes with the Alps. Some of those legends include the following. The giant Sess. There once lived a wild man of enormous stature in the Stubai Valley. This man was a dreaded king of the mountains. The giant, whose name was Sess, was one of the most extraordinarily savage nature. His wife, as bad as he was, and his secret counsel, still worse than both. The giant Sess was passionately fond of hunting, when on the track of a flying stag. He cared so little about anything but his own pleasure that he would dash, accompanied by all his followers and hounds, through the flocks and herds pastured on the mountains, carrying death and ruin wherever he went. His dogs did not only tear to pieces poor stags, but also furiously attacked sheep herds. One day, a young shepherd, in his anger, shot one of the dogs dead upon the spot. At this, the infuriated giant set the whole pack of hounds upon the unhappy herdsman, laughing with savage delight as this guy was torn limb from limb by the dogs. But in the midst of this terrible crime, heaven's wrath fell heavy upon them. A terrific thunderstorm burst over their heads. When it had passed away, no more was to be seen of King Sess, his wife, or his counselor. Instead of them rose 3 huge glaciers into the clouds on the spot on which their fight had taken place. The one in the middle is the wicked monster Sess, the one to the right and left, they stand as his cruel wife and his inhuman counselor. It is said that on stormy nights, even now, you can hear the howling of the unearthly dogs. On the Ötztal Valley, another interesting location is Zordon. Zordon is also surrounded by myths, legends that come from the rich folklore of the region. In ancient times, there was a sorceress in Ötztal. She was once a farmer's prostitute tormented by hopeless love. That is why she went to a sorceress in order to use her arts to win over a young, wealthy farm owner. The girl had not left in vain. The charms worked, and the previously scorned prostitute soon became the much-envied bride. The wedding day was already at the door. All the preparations for the celebration had been made. Then the cheerful groom suddenly falls from a steep rock, face down, and remains dead on the spot. When the bride heard this, she was overwhelmed by the greatest pain, which soon increased into despair. She uttered terrible curses, cursed God and people, and finally made her way to the sorceress, whose arts and secrets she learned. The student soon imitated the teacher's knowledge and even surpassed it. Soon she conjured up terrible storms so that the crops were destroyed and the clocks broke out. At the time of the haymaking, it stirred up storm winds that carried the hay down into the stream. She often bewitched the cattle so they would throw themselves wildly off the rocks. Boys who went to their prostitutes at night were teased and led off by her. She ran after the hikers in all sorts of shapes, jumped on their backs like a cat, or rolled in a lump at their feet. She misled the children because the poor, crying little ones were often found out in the woods far away from their father's house. She knew how to do all of this in such a way that no suspicion fell on her. The community found no help or advice against these plagues and misfortunes. Finally, they promised a second bell for the little church, hoping to put an obstacle in the way of this monster. This was enough to turn the witch's anger against the little church. One day, when the little church bell was rung in the tower, a terrible storm struck, the torrent roared past the little church and grew horribly and rose higher and higher. But this was still too slow for the witch. She turned into a huge spruce tree and threw herself into the stream in order to swell it and direct the entire force of the water onto the church. At the moment of greatest need and danger, the bells were rung to bless the weather, and the magic was broken. The pine witch perished in the water. She was found lying on the sand a few days later. She was miserably scratched and torn by the devil, and even dead, she still held the magic book in her right hand.